On this Saturday night, a tense calm holds in the Gaza Strip. The devastating return for thousands of Palestinians as Israeli families prepare to welcome loved ones home. Jeff Semple is in Tel Aviv and speaks to Canadians on the ground. Escalating standoff as the U.S. threatens China with sweeping new tariffs. Ottawa is caught in the middle, facing sanctions from both sides. Tragedy in Tennessee. Why officials say a deadly explosives factory blast could have been foul play. Plus, demolition and reflection.
I was 6. I remember my first day here.
Residential school survivors gather as the last structures are torn down.
Global National, reporting tonight, Nitu Garcha.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The Gaza ceasefire is holding for a second day as Palestinians return to devastated neighborhoods, and Israel prepares for the possible release of hostages within days. Tens of thousands walked through the beleaguered Gaza Strip today, coming back to what's left of their homes and sifting through the rubble after 2 years of bombardment. Israel has pulled back troops while aid is set to roll in, but big questions remain around disarmament, governance, and rebuilding. For now, the truce holds, but hope and anxiety are running high. Our Jeff Semple is in Tel Aviv tonight, where the countdown is on for the next critical steps in this fragile peace process. Jeff?
Well, Neithu, every Saturday for the past 2 years, thousands have gathered here in what's become known as Hostages Square. And we're used to seeing scenes here of people overcome with grief and anger. But tonight, that is replaced with a celebratory atmosphere, a sense of joy, of anxious anticipation and hope that this nightmare might soon be over. The largest rally to date, more than 500,000 gathered, including this Canadian mother and daughter who traveled here from Montreal to bear witness.
This is a historic moment, and there's nowhere else I want to be.
On October 7th, Hamas captured 251 hostages. Their images are plastered across the country. 48 hostages remain in Gaza, 20 of whom are believed to still be alive, including Haggai Ongrest's son, Matan.
We didn't celebrate yet because we are waiting for our son. We are waiting for the phone call.
He and the rest of the country are now counting the hours until the noon Monday deadline, when the remaining hostages are due to finally come home. Well, across the border in Gaza, a homecoming of a different kind. This Palestinian family just returned to find what's left of their home, covering the holes from Israeli bombs with blankets. I asked that the country be rebuilt and that wars end, Salem Shaban told Global News. We are exhausted, we can barely breathe, we are hungry, oppressed, and sick. A lone aid truck was swarmed by desperate Palestinians, but hundreds of truckloads are expected to arrive soon. Israel still controls more than half of the Palestinian enclave, but over the past couple of days, the Israeli military has pulled back, allowing hundreds of thousands of Gazans to return to their war-torn communities. Hamas gunmen were also back patrolling the streets. They'll be required to give up these weapons as part of the next phase of the peace deal. Some Palestinians returning home are now digging through the rubble, looking for lost loved ones, including Fadwa Al-Gaban's son, Mon, whom she hasn't seen since July. She holds his shirt and hopes for his return. I imagine him walking into the tent to announce he's alive, she says. Scenes of markets reopening and Palestinians rebuilding are reminiscent of the last ceasefire earlier this year, which quickly fell apart. But people on both sides say this time feels different, thanks in part to the U.S. involvement. Trump's Middle East envoy and son-in-law visited Gaza and, along with his daughter, addressed the rally in Tel Aviv tonight.
God bless you all for standing in solidarity together through this dark chapter. 200
American troops are now arriving here in Israel to oversee the ceasefire, though they will not be entering Gaza, according to the White House. Speaking of the White House, the U.S. President Donald Trump is himself heading here to Israel, expected to depart Washington tomorrow. Neithu?
Jeff Semple in Tel Aviv. Thanks, Jeff. Intense Israeli airstrikes rocked southern Lebanon overnight, killing one person and destroying part of a highway linking to Beirut. The Israeli military says it targeted a Hezbollah terrorist site, striking machinery allegedly used to rebuild infrastructure. Lebanon's president called the strike unprovoked aggression. U.S. President Donald Trump is racketing up the trade war with China, announcing plans to impose 100% tariffs on U.S.-bound exports. The move comes after Beijing tightened restrictions on its rare earth shipments. It's the biggest rupture in relations between the two countries in months. Jillian Piper reports on the rift and how Canada could fit in.
100%. You're talking about China might be 100%.
U.S. President Donald Trump threatening Beijing with a new tariff in November.
We were just surprised that China. I have a very good relationship with President Xi, and they did that. This is not something that I, instigated.
U.S. retaliation after China revealed its plan to impose export controls on all its products as of November 1st. Beijing processes the majority of the world's rare earths and critical minerals that go into everything from smartphones to electric vehicles, a key bargaining chip in the ongoing trade talks with the United States.
We get about 65% of our lithium-ion batteries from China. So what we want to see here in the United States is getting that lithium in North America.
The souring trade relationship has Trump calling into question meeting with Xi at the APEC summit in 2 weeks.
The shock of a trade war.
A possible opening Prime Minister Mark Carney may be looking to fill as Canada navigates trade wars with both countries.
I think he's a great prime minister.
Despite flattery in the Oval Office, Ottawa is still facing a 50% levy on aluminum, steel, and copper, a 35% tariff on roughly 15% of all Canadian goods that aren't free trade compliant, and a 35% duty on softwood lumber set to increase on Tuesday.
As the president said, the negotiations are tough, but we've come a long way in the last year.
Canada has also been hit with a 100% levy on canola from China, retaliation for Ottawa hitting Chinese electric vehicles with a 100% tariff in October, following the United States' lead. The lack of tariff reprieve fueling attacks from the opposition.
We need to get the government out of the way of our businesses and allow them to create more jobs and hire more workers. That means standing up to trade abusers like China.
Carney has veered away from his predecessor Justin Trudeau by having meetings with senior Chinese politicians, something Canada previously had not done since 2018, Neetu, and Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand will likely continue those talks when she travels to China later this month.
All right, Jillian Piper in Ottawa. Thanks, Jillian. Prime Minister Mark Carney, meanwhile, is trying to project progress on trade talks. Today, he posted a picture of a lunch he hosted for U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra and his wife, saying our nations are building a new economic and security relationship. But Carney is also trying to improve relations outside of the U.S., highlighted by recent international trips. Mackenzie Gray has been traveling with the Prime Minister. Mackenzie, what have you been able to gather behind the scenes about how these trips have gone?
At a high level, the Liberals believe these trips have been successful, Neetu, to try and continue to set the table, to have Mr. Carney meet to diversify away from the U.S. with different business leaders and try and find a trade deal with the Americans. Now, he did that both at the United Nations and in London. Carney met with not only world leaders, but 12 high-level business folks, including Bill Gates, major infrastructure investors, and the top folks at Google, Dow, and aluminum giant Alcoa, the kind of people Carney wants to be in a room with to pitch investing in Canada based on the changes he's proposing to the Canadian economy. And while you do need to get in those rooms and meet people to get things done, the issue politically for Carney is he's promised to build things at speeds never seen before, and no new major infrastructure projects have even been green-lit under him. So just like there's pressure on him to try and get a deal with the U.S., the pressure is starting to mount to get those major projects underway, because a successful re-election for Mr. Carney will likely depend in part on attending some ribbon-cutting ceremonies for major projects that have been approved under him.
Okay, a lot to watch for there. Mackenzie, you mentioned the pressure on Carney to get a trade deal with Donald Trump. What can you tell us about the strategy the Liberals are planning to take here?
Well, the core strategy has changed substantially since the election. Elbows up is out, Neetu. Donald Trump is no longer trying to break us so he can own us. All that talk is over. The Oval Office meeting was a total love-in, which liberals I've spoken with have said they think will help get a deal, but regardless how much chummy the Prime Minister and the President are, results will be required. And if you talk with senior liberals, they're not particularly eager to rush into a deal. They want to attempt to rag the puck to try and bring all these sectoral tariffs, including on steel and aluminum, into the broader renegotiation of the 2026 Canada-US-Mexico free trade deal. But the PM did admit this week that there'll likely be multiple trade deals.
There's going to be, in my view, some bilateral deals, there already are, alongside USMCA. It's not an either or necessarily.
Now, whatever deal takes shape, there has been a lot of pressure on Carney in the House of Commons to get something done, and some business and labor leaders I've spoken with have also called into question Carney's negotiating tactics. Even by standards of politicians, Neetu, Carney is extremely confident in his abilities and hasn't reached out to business, labor, and civil society groups in the same way that Justin Trudeau did to put on a full-court press with the Americans. So we'll see if that strategy continues, Neetu, as the pressure continues to ramp up on Mr. Carney.
All right, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa. Thanks, Mackenzie. In the U.S., the Trump administration has begun laying off more than 4,000 federal workers as the ongoing government shutdown shows no signs of stopping. President Trump is blaming the cuts on the Democrats for what he calls their standoff in the now 10-day-long shutdown. The U.S. Treasury and Health and Human Services departments are said to account for more than half of the total layoffs. Unions have sued to try and stop the cuts. The results are in from President Trump's latest health evaluation. Trump underwent a series of tests at the Walter Reed Military Medical Center yesterday. The White House physician says he was found to be in, quote, excellent overall health with the cardiac age of someone 14 years younger. The 79-year-old also received flu and COVID vaccines to prepare for international travel. The blast that leveled an explosives plant in Tennessee has left no survivors. Authorities say they're working on the assumption that everyone who was at the site is dead. The blast happened yesterday morning at a factory that supplies research explosives for the U.S. military. Candace Cole reports on what we know so far.
As we get into this, we find it even more devastating than what we thought initially.
Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis giving an emotional update on the ongoing recovery efforts Saturday, the day after this deadly explosion at a military munitions plant in McEwen, Tennessee, obliterating everything in its wake.
We got communities here, Sheriff Kraft and I both on both sides have communities that have been truly devastated. Ooh. It's a tremendous loss, a great loss.
The blast could be heard for kilometers. Last night, this woman recalling what she heard.
There was a huge boom and my house shook very hard. It honestly felt like a vehicle drove through our house, but then we found out it was the explosion that was about 10 miles down the road.
The 19 people who were unaccounted for after the explosion now presumed dead.
I can tell you that more than 300 people have been through almost every square inch of this facility, and at this time we've recovered no survivors.
Investigators now using extreme caution while surveying the scene, given the delicate nature of the explosives still in the area, like C4.
Right now, all of our bomb techs, our explosive specialists, are up there very thoroughly, methodically trying to make safe the area so that when our national response team comes in this afternoon, that area can be as safe as possible.
As the search for answers continues, Sheriff Davis says investigators will use rapid DNA testing to confirm remains on the ground. He is not at this point ruling out foul play. Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Some sad news out of Hollywood. Actress Diane Keaton has died.
You play very well.
Oh, yeah? So do you. Oh, God, what a dumb thing to say, right? I mean, you say it, you play well, and then right away I have to say you play well. Oh, God, Annie.
Keaton starred in Annie Hall, winning an Oscar for Best Actress. She's also known for her roles in The Godfather, First Wives Club, and Father of the Bride. Keaton is survived by her 2 children. The cause of her death is not yet known. She was 79 years old. A real-life hero coming up, how a Montreal student took down a criminal in his family's home and the surprise for police after his arrest. A university student near Montreal is being hailed a hero after he took down a criminal who was robbing his family's home. Coming back from a night out, 19-year-old Charles Seitz came face to face with a masked man in his kitchen. And as Dan Spector reports, the way he reacted is earning him widespread praise.
It was probably open up to here, and when I walked in, I shut it like that. The guy was probably in the next room, so he definitely...
Charles Seitz is describing the moment he and his family will never forget as he arrived home from a party on a Wednesday night in August at around 1:30 a.m., his family asleep upstairs.
I saw a guy jump out from one of our rooms. He had a bright flashlight and it's pitch black in the house, so that kind of blinded me at first. And I froze for the first second or two.
The back door had been left unlocked so Charles could get in. Within seconds, he says the masked man ran straight at him.
I punched him in the face and tackled him, took him down, got him in a chokehold.
Unfortunately for the robber, Charles is a former high school wrestling champion who's been training in jiu-jitsu.
Legs around him and I have the chokehold, and I'm behind him like that. He couldn't. I felt him like grabbing on my arms like that, but other than that, it only takes a couple seconds.
I woke up to the sound of my son yelling for help.
Charles's dad rushed downstairs and was relieved to find his son already had the situation under control. The two men pinned the assailant while Charles's sister called 911. Police arrived 15 minutes later and put him under arrest.
Charles was very calm. I was so impressed with how calm he was through it. I remember him saying, "Sir, I have control of your airway."
A little while after, just telling him, like, you're the coolest person on the planet. Definitely felt safer that night having him in the house.
It turns out the 58-year-old burglar Georgita Onise had been linked to 20 other recent robberies in the area. And according to a British news outlet, he's had multiple stints behind bars for burglaries in Europe.
Residents were very relieved. It had caused a lot of stress for the people that had these incidents. It's very violating.
Charles was awarded a certificate of recognition from the Montreal police for his heroics.
Surprisingly, I felt a lot closer to my family after the fact.
He said that was quite the father-son moment, which was great.
The family's installed cameras and has gotten more vigilant about locking doors. As for the criminal, he's behind bars awaiting his next court date in December. Dan Spector, Global News, Montreal.
Ahead, Toronto takes a swing at Seattle, how the Blue Jays are preparing to knock it out of the park. In an emergency, dogs often play the role of rescuer, but sometimes they need a little help too. In Arizona, officers were called in to help a pooch who was seriously injured while camping with its owner and could no longer walk. They were located by helicopter in a deep canyon. The team used a special canine rescue harness to lift the dog to safety. It was taken to an emergency vet and reunited with its owner. The Toronto Blue Jays are looking for a repeat of their first-round triumph over the New York Yankees. Last night, they learned they'll face the Seattle Mariners in the American League Championship Series. Seattle knocked off Detroit in a grueling 15-inning game. The Jays are sticking with a winning formula, announcing today that Kevin Gausman will be back on the mound for the first game.
This atmosphere, I think you kind of have to be here to appreciate it in the postseason. It can be pretty deafening at times. So to the fans, I say thank you for coming.
Game 1 begins tomorrow night at 8 Eastern Time. Next, tearing down the past to rebuild the future. The emotional scenes as a former residential school comes down in BC. Powerful scenes are unfolding on the west coast of Vancouver Island this weekend as survivors of the Christie Residential School watch the last remaining buildings come down. Many say seeing it fall brings a sense of healing and hope that the land and those who suffered there for more than 8 decades can finally begin to rest. Kylie Stanton shows us how survivors are turning demolition into a moment of reclamation.
The structure may be solid and the foundation strong, but what happened here broke something inside the children, forced to stay.
I was 6. I remember my first day here, like it was 2 minutes ago, of how scared I was.
Now, decades later, they return, not as students, but as survivors.
Thank you for coming to join us today.
Bravely revisiting a painful past before one of the last functioning residential schools in BC finally comes down.
I can say that it's been in the universe for many years, probably since we were all young people, that one day this was going to come, one day this was going to happen.
The Christie Indian Residential School was first established on Mears Island just off Tofino in 1900. It officially closed in 1983 after more than 8 decades and 46 documented student deaths.
We couldn't be kids.
It's hard to tell, a lot of people what really happened.
But it's what bonds the roughly 200 people gathered here. And as the walls break open, the dark chapter begins to close.
Taking this down, and it's important for our people to grow and move forward.
The demolition is expected to take several days, with former students playing an active role.
To wreck it, it is a good feeling.
Just gonna take this home and just remember where I was and where I'm going now.
A group once broken, now standing strong, claiming power over their past.
We survived. A true example of our resilience.
Kylie Stanton, Global News.
A 24-hour crisis line is available for anyone experiencing pain or distress as a result of their residential school experience. You can call 1-866-925-4419. And that is Global National for this Saturday night. I'm Neetu Garcha. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Bryson, Quebec, Oakville, Ontario, and Green Lake near 70 Mile House, BC. We love seeing your Canada. Please keep emailing your photos to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching and hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.